President Maithripala Sirisena meets his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin. Shareholders of the proposed alcohol distillery in Calcutta revealed. Questions raised on the uninhabited building of the Ministry of Agriculture, for which a monthly rent of over 2 million rupees is paid. Civil rights activists highlight concerns at the UNHRC.
Electorally unsuccessful elements are busy fomenting divisions, bringing further suffering to victims, at times giving them false hopes.
Good evening and welcome. You're with Newsfirst, your #1 news provider. I am Shamir Rasooli.
I'm Sonali Wanigabavage. We have got a comprehensive lineup of stories tonight. Here's a look at your lead story. President Sirisena, the first Sri Lankan leader to visit Russia in 43 years, met with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin today in a positive move to develop ties between the two nations.
President Maithripala Sirisena was received with a guard of honor at the Kremlin's Alexandra Garden when he visited the Red Square to place a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. First Lady Jayanthi Sirisena and the Sri Lankan delegation were among those present. According to the President's media division, the bilateral meeting between President Sirisena and his Russian counterpart lasted for more than an hour.
The US-sponsored resolution on promoting reconciliation in Sri Lanka was taken up for consideration at the 34th Human Rights Council session in Geneva. Incidentally, the resolution is being co-sponsored by Sri Lanka again.
This resolution reflects our continued strong commitment to peace, justice and reconciliation for all the people of Sri Lanka. It recognizes both the important steps that Sri Lanka has taken toward protecting human rights and fundamental freedoms, and also the need for full implementation of remaining steps to ensure the consolidation of these protections. Sri Lanka's co-sponsorship of this resolution is a testament to the Sirisena's administration's positive engagement with the international community and commitment to improving the lives of all Sri Lankans. We look forward to the adoption of the text, which further commits the government of Sri Lanka to pursue a process of reconciliation and justice for 2 more years. It is our sincere hope that this process can help ensure a non-recurrence of conflict and the strengthening of democratic institutions for all Sri Lankans.
We deeply appreciate the understanding shown by all and support for Sri Lanka's processes for promoting reconciliation, justice and human rights towards enduring peace and prosperity for all Sri Lankans. On 8 January 2015, we made a promise to our people that we will engage and work with all stakeholders, including our friends and partners, to uphold human rights, establish rule of law, end impunity, strengthen democracy and good governance, and create the stability and peace required in our country for the prosperity of all our people. We thank the international community for their continued support in this journey. We thank them for placing their faith in our government and our people, and for walking with us at our side as we strive to establish Sri Lankan government-led processes with international assistance, engagement and support for the benefit of all our citizens without discrimination.
After the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights presented his report on Sri Lanka at the UNHRC session in Geneva yesterday, several nations and civil society activists expressed their views. Let's take a listen.
More, much more, needs to be done. And in the time given to the government, I sincerely hope and strongly urge that it make clear to the government that a number of measures, as laid out in Resolution 30/1, can, should and must be taken in that period to ensure that transitional justice will be realized in substantial measure, if not in full. The Council must impress upon the government that time is given to do the rest of what needs to be done, as identified by its citizens and the Council.
people of no lesser importance than the President and the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, along with countless key ministers, have repeatedly rejected the notion of a hybrid court. What is even more alarming is the most recent position of the President of Sri Lanka, that he will make sure that not a single member of the armed forces will be prosecuted in any court of law. Given this reality, would the High Commissioner agree that giving a further 2 years for Sri Lanka to implement this part of the resolution that it has already comprehensively rejected might serve the purpose of letting the government off the hook? And secondly, given the High Commissioner's call for Sri Lanka to accede to the Rome Statute, would he agree that increasingly it is only through a referral of Sri Lanka to the ICC or through the setting up of an international ad hoc tribunal that justice for the victims is likely?
Sri Lanka is now at crossroads. The forces of pluralism, reform and tolerance are now in pitched battle with the forces of militarism, chauvinism and ethnic hegemony. On both sides of the ethnic divide, electorally unsuccessful elements are busy fomenting divisions, bringing further suffering to victims, at times giving them false hopes. Sri Lanka requires the sustained attention of the Council. Sri Lanka could one day represent a success story of the Council engagement. We have not nearly reached that stage yet. We call on the members of the Council and the OHCHR to renew their efforts to encourage the government to draw up an action plan, implement the pledges, adopt a new constitution to reach political consensus on power sharing, and to use the 2 years to build trust among all communities and victims.
Newsfirst has been monitoring the 34th regular sessions at the UNHRC, which are ongoing. Here's a look back at the history of some of the incidents that took place with regard to the UNHRC in relation to Sri Lanka.
On the 2nd of June 2011, a large number of Sri Lankans residing in European countries staged a demonstration opposite the UN office in Geneva, Switzerland, to protest the Darusman report. The following year, in March, the United States, along with 40 co-sponsors, tabled a draft resolution on Sri Lanka titled Promoting Accountability and Reconciliation in Sri Lanka at the 19th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council. On the 22nd of March 2012, the resolution was passed with 24 votes in favour, 15 votes against and 8 abstentions. In May 2012, the government announced the appointment of a task force and the National Plan of Action to implement the recommendations of the Lessons Learned and Reconciliation Commission. The UN Human Rights Council in March 2013 passed a highly critical resolution urging Sri Lanka to conduct an independent and credible investigation into alleged war crimes. Following a week-long visit in the country at the invitation of the Sri Lankan government in August 2013, then UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Navi Pillay accused the government of eroding democracy and the rule of law.
මට පොඩ්ඩක් 40ට වැඩි සමහරට 35ට අඩු 35ට වැඩි මට 40ට වැඩි ඒ වුණාට මේ අතපය හොල්ලනවා වගේ තමයි මුළු ශරීරයම මගේ තාම වැඩ කරනවා පිල්ලනෝනට ශක්තියක් තියෙනවා මට මුණ දෙන්න මම හිත උනත් ලෑස්ති මුස්ලිමුන්ට පුළුවන් නම් හතරක් බඳින්න මම මොකද එකක් බඳා වෙන්නේ ආමුදුරනේ.
In June 2014, the High Commissioner appointed 3 distinguished experts to play a supportive and advisory role as well as independent verification throughout the investigation. In September 2015, following the election of Maithripala Sirisena as president, Sri Lanka rejected a UN call for international involvement in an investigation into war crimes. Later that year in October, it co-sponsored a UN Human Rights Council resolution. In February 2016, the newly appointed UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Prince Zaid Ra'ad Al Hussein, visited Sri Lanka, which he described it as a much more friendly, cooperative and encouraging visit than his predecessor endured in August 2013. Addressing the 32nd session of the UN Human Rights Council in June 2016, Foreign Minister Mangala Samaraweera made several pledges which included the establishment of a permanent and independent office on missing persons. Though the bill on the establishment of the Office on Missing Persons was passed in Parliament, it is not operational as yet.
Now, Newsfirst, of course, will keep our viewers fully up to date on all the developments that will unfold at the 34th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council sessions in Geneva, and will report to you as and when there are developments on this story. Take a look at other local stories now. We at Newsfirst have not received an adequate response to a request made under the Right to Information Act on the salary particulars of the Chief Executive Officer of the Information Communication Technology Agency, or ICTA. The matter was taken up in Parliament today.
In response to our query, the Minister of Telecommunications and Digital Infrastructure noted that the salary particulars of the CEO is pursuant to a contract which is private and confidential to the person with whom the contract has been signed. Sonali Vanigabaduge from Sirasa has requested information on the CEO of ICTA. In response, they have said it is private and confidential. Matters pertaining to his wife or children can be considered private, but this information must be provided and they cannot refuse it. Newsfirst also raised questions on the matter at the media briefing on cabinet decisions held yesterday. There are categories under which requests can be made: public authorities and public figures. Only information regarding public institutions falls under this act. Semi-government organizations do not fall under this act. The government is bound to provide information on the organization, but under the act, we cannot provide information on an individual working there. While information must be provided under the RTI Act, what recourse is available when such requests are refused? Salaries cannot be hidden now. If information on the salary is not provided, then you can lodge an appeal. There are state resources. Provisions are made through the budget. The people have a right to know this information.
Is there a correlation between the RTI and good governance? Lead education specialist of the World Bank, Dr. Harsha Drupana, addressing the induction ceremony of the new president of the Institute of Applied Statistics, had the answer. Let's take a listen.
There is a worldwide movement pushing for the use of data, for the use of statistics, for the use of information for good governance. In Sri Lanka itself, we have a landmark achievement in the passage of the Right to Information Act, because that is an extremely important policy measure to promote good governance. But once the Right to Information Act has been passed, that has to be given life. And to give it life, there are a number of things that have to be done at the level of government ministries, government departments, in civil society.
Views were also expressed on the Right to Information Act during the Davasa program aired on our sister channel, Sirasa TV.
We requested for the salary particulars of Muhundan Kanage. They have rejected this request. We have a right to know how much Muhundan Kanage has been paid. These are public funds, so they have to reveal these details. At a time when they are seeking a higher salary for the Auditor General, we have to ask whether Kanage receives a higher salary than the Auditor General. We have our doubts. Why are they hiding this information? If an act is being enforced, we have the right to know. Is this a state secret? Or will revealing this information affect national security? There is a serious issue here. There is no point in bringing about legislation if people do not benefit.
Who granted permission for the proposed alcohol distillery in Calcutta along with tax concessions? Newsfirst asked several parties for their views.
Our research revealed that the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka has not approved this project. Minister of Development Strategies and International Trade, Malik Samara Wikrama, was in Jaffna today, and we asked him as to how permission was granted for the proposed alcohol distillery in Calcutta.
I am not aware of that. I am not aware. Of course, the tourist hotels will get if there are tourist hotels, but not otherwise.
The land in which the distillery is being built is located in the jurisdiction of the Eastern Provincial Council. Therefore, did the Provincial Council grant permission for this project?
There This cannot be approved. Use of alcohol in the province has also increased. Following the end of the war, alcohol consumption in the Batticaloa district has increased by threefold. We will not allow this, and we have not been informed of this. They have not obtained permission from us, and this is being done in secret. There are other important projects proposed by the council for these areas. So why was this project given priority?
I am not aware of that. I am not aware.
If the minister is not aware of this matter, it has not been submitted to cabinet for approval. If the chief minister is not aware, provincial council approval has not been obtained for this matter. Political parties are amazed about approval given for this alcohol distillery at a time when no one is aware as to how approval was granted.
Rogues like Arjun Aloysius are given more opportunities to earn, and this time it is through a distillery. What happens to President Sirisena's program against alcohol? We will never approve the construction of a distillery. I was in fact amazed. Is the Chief Minister of the East asleep? He must take action to put a stop to this. The country is aware of the daylight robbery committed by the father-in-law and son-in-law. Are they laundering the black money via the distillery? Such investments cannot be made without state sponsorship. Who in the government is enjoying benefits from the money given by these persons? Does this not have a hand of the Rajapaksas? We will reveal these in the future. The corrupt and the rich have joined together to build a distillery in Kumurucheni. Who is behind this? The minister and MPs from the ruling UMPR. I recall Batticaloa MP Shashi Dharan and organizer Jagannathan coming to meet me. They requested permission for this distillery. How can we give approval for it? Only 20 taverns are permitted to operate in Batticaloa, but there are 58. Shakti FM journalist Nalathambi Nithyanan and journalist Shashi Dharan, who went to report on this, were assaulted. Why? There are many who depend in this distillery. The government must immediately stop the construction of the Mendis distillery.
A demonstration to condemn the assault on the journalist took place in Jaffna today. Shakti FM's Nalathambi Nithyanathan and journalist Sasiharan, who were attacked by thugs when reporting on the alcohol distillery, filed a case with the Walachennai Magistrates Court today. Who is behind the Mendis distillery in Calcutta? The Anti-Corruption Front revealed the shareholders of the distillery.
Who serves on the director board of WM Mendis and Company Limited? Who are the shareholders? Rajapaksas, who were tainted with fraud and corruption during the previous administration, have used their subordinates to purchase a large number of shares of this distillery. So it is not only Perpetual Treasuries or Arjun Aloysius. We have received information. It is clear that Parliament was not given mandate by the people. A mandate was given only to President Maithripala Sirisena. Justice must be served for the people as per policy manifesto. Therefore, such distilleries must not be allowed.
එහෙනම් ඒ සාධාරණය ඇතුලේ මෙවැනි කර්මාන්තශාලා ඇති නොවිය යුතුයි.
We obtained a response from the director of the Presidential Transport Division with regard to the luxury vehicles at the old Speaker's residence.
It was last August that we first reported on the luxury vehicles left idle in Kolpiti and left to rust. We visited the location yesterday, 9 months after the initial revelation, and the vehicles were still in the same location but in worse conditions. At first, one can ascertain that the value of these vehicles are in their millions. If these vehicles are repaired and put to use or auctioned off, the state could generate a considerable revenue. Can't the funds generated be used for the betterment of the homeless who go through garbage to find at least something to eat? The house and land of Mumtaz Mahal, the official residence of the former speaker, was under the purview of the Ministry of Parliament Reforms. Currently, it is administered by the Presidential Secretariat. When we contacted the Director of the Presidential Transport Division, he said 22 vehicles removed from service and 6 bulletproof vehicles are placed at the premises. He said that some are owned by various government departments and the President's office. He says that the bulletproof vehicles used by former heads of state and removed from the service cannot be sold, and that they are being used for training purposes by the military as well as for display purposes. He adds that after resolving the issues in the remaining vehicles, they could be sold off in the coming months.
If the vehicle can be repaired and made use of, they should do that. It is wrong to leave vehicles to rust at various locations. It is the innocent taxpayers' money that goes to waste. When these vehicles are left to rust, the poor man will have to face the consequences.
Our first expose was on the 23rd of August 2016. Our second expose was in March 2017. Another delay of 3 months would have a negative impact on the country. 22 of the repaired vehicles could be allocated to the MPs that requested new vehicles last year, saving billions of taxpayers' money.
Now, after watching that news report on our primetime news bulletin at 7 on Sirasa, convener of the Left Front, Chamira Pereira, expressed these views to Newsfirst.
I saw the news report. This goes to show that most of the vehicles are still in usable condition. However, they have been left to rot. We have also got information that bulletproof vehicles used by Mahinda Rajapaksa are also among these vehicles. We saw a few days ago Mahinda Rajapaksa say that the economy has been destroyed. There is no money and the country is heading towards an economic abyss. Where was Mahinda Rajapaksa over the past 10 years? Who ruled the country back then? They have wasted these resources and state funds. How can a country economy be in one piece when such a wastage takes place?
Dengue has raised its head once again, this time to dangerous levels, specifically in the Trincomalee district. Many have been affected, many have been hospitalized as a result of dengue. Now, this came under discussion in Parliament today as well.
The spread of dengue has been aggravated during the past 3 months. The number of patients receiving in-house treatment and obtaining treatment from medical centers owing to dengue has reached almost 10,000 patients. When we look at the news today, it is evident that this issue has now become a threat to both the people and the entire nation. What is the actual figure of patients affected owing to dengue according to the Ministry of Health? As the local government bodies have been dissolved, there is no system in place where members of the local government bodies can intervene and find a solution. I would like to ask the Minister of Health what steps have been taken against such a backdrop. When the entire country and the international media reports on this situation, what steps have been taken by the Minister or the Deputy Minister? Provide us with an answer. I am thankful to MP Dinesh Gunawardena for raising this question. The government has taken the necessary steps in this regard and launched programs both in Trincomalee and in Kenya. The Prime Minister has also instructed me in this regard.
In fact, we must thank the Tri-Forces. They have deployed almost 800 men in the entire Kenya and the surrounding areas, and other voluntary organizations also deploy people. We are cleaning up various other equipments and all have been done, and the high dependency unit have been set up. Apart from Nigambu, high dependency unit.
So the Honourable Minister can add to
set up. We must also thank the volunteers. Doctors from other areas have volunteered to come. That shows the amount of sacrifice our medical profession is making in going to these areas and at risk of their own lives, they are serving these people. I must also
respect to thank you,
gratitude rendered.
I would like to comment on what the Honourable Minister has said and Leader of the House. On regard as Trincomalee, the resources has been given and they have been working on Trincomalee, and then they went into Kenya. They have gone into the houses there. Government has made all the resources available. As the Minister said, endorse it. The 3 services, the police, the National Ministry of Health and the Provincial Ministry of Health, all there. They have got even people down from Polonnaruwa. Now it's moving down on to Batiklo. I said we'll make all the resources available. The Minister is keeping an eye on the Batiklo situation. But there seems to be a spread of disease. I mean, we have to be careful here.
First, they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out, because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Dengue is on our doorstep. Now is the time to speak out and fight this epidemic.
The dengue eradication drive launched by the Newsfirst.lk medical team got underway for the third consecutive day today, with varying stakeholders joining the effort to assist those affected.
The Gamada team visited Kenya this morning. Officials attached to the Army, the Youth Corps and the health inspectors also joined the campaign. Our correspondent said that mosquito nets were distributed to the residents of Jittanagar. Newsfirst team members also engaged in clean-up operations which were held at several villages.
JVP parliamentarian Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa raised questions in Parliament today with regard to the public funds which are being spent on ministry buildings.
A total 149.698 million is being paid as monthly rent for the buildings which have been obtained on rent. An advance of 1,006.973 million has been paid.
It would be best if you could read out the monthly rent as well, because it was a much lower amount for government buildings.
This contains all the details. Shall I send them to you? They are quite lengthy. 1.586 million for the Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade, 2.401 billion for the Ministry of Law and Order and Southern Development, 2.847 million for the Ministry of Primary Industries, 4.896 million for the Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation, and 24.570 million for the Ministry of Agriculture. These are monthly payments that we make.
It appears that the highest monthly rent is being paid for the Ministry of Agriculture, which is 24.5 million. This building was obtained on rent in April last year. It has been 11 months now, and the building has been closed with a payment of 24.5 million being paid.
The subject minister has to be here to answer that. I will address it to him.
අවුරුද්දක් තිස්සේ දැන් වහලා තිබෙනවා. අපි අහන්නේ මේක
නෑ කුෂිකර්ම රාජ්‍ය ඇමතුමා ඉන්නවා. ෂේබර ඇමතුමා ඉන්නවා ගරු නියෝජක කතානායකතුමනි. එතුමාට මම එතුමාගේ අවධානයට යොමු කරන්න. දැන් මේ ගොඩ
It was not the cabinet minister who put forward the cabinet paper to obtain this building on rent. It was the Prime Minister. When he did this, he said space is required to function the Parliament oversight committees. But the oversight committees are still convening in our committee rooms. It has been a year since this building has been closed after it was obtained from DG Jayasinghe company. Even I have been asking this question from the Agriculture Ministry for a year now. An immediate decision must be taken when there is so much misuse of public funds. I will provide answers to that with all the details.
On to the latest on the central bank bond saga. At the Presidential Commission of Inquiry today, certain attendees at a breakfast meeting as far back as the 26th of February 2015 managed to raise eyebrows. Newsfirst Zulfiq Farzan, who has been comprehensively monitoring this story, reports.
Former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Ananda Silva, said Ministers Ravi Karunanayake and Kabir Hashim, along with Road Development Authority officials, were present for the meeting on the 26th of February 2015. Notably, Malik Samarawikrama, who was not a minister at that time, had no official designation or business to attend this meeting, which discussed the repayment for stalled road construction contracts and the review of some. Silva says the outcome of the meeting did not indicate an imminent need to make payments and no request was made to raise money from the next auction. Today's witness confirmed statements made by 3 earlier witnesses on the visit made by former Governor Mahendran to the Public Debt Department on the 27th of February 2015. This was moments after the auction closed. The witness also confirmed that there was contradiction between the draft and confirmed minutes of the Mantri Board meeting dated 23rd February 2015. Former Deputy Governor Ananda Silva testified on oath that former Governor Mahendran called him over the phone on the 24th of February 2015 to instruct the Superintendent of Public Debt to go for a 30-year bond quickly. The witness was questioned on Mahendran's directive to cease direct placements. He responded that the authority to make such a decision lies with the Monetary Board. P. Samarasiri, the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, is to give evidence before the Commission of Inquiry on Monday.
British Prime Minister Theresa May has revealed that the Westminster attacker was British-born and known to the police and intelligence services.
In a statement, Prime Minister Theresa May said the attacker had been investigated some years ago over violent extremism, but had been a quote-unquote peripheral figure. Scotland Yard Acting Deputy Commissioner Mark Rowley said 8 arrests have been made following the attack, which left 4 people dead. 7 of the injured are in critical condition. A further 29 are also being treated in hospital.
The latest news, of course, is that the police forces across Britain in 6 different locations have made 7 arrests, including in Edgbaston in Birmingham. The traffic around the House of Commons, which is the British Parliament, are all closed down, and the traffic is, of course, obviously being affected. Flags are flying at half-mast, as we can see. There is a growing realization that London is paying the price of the effects of global extremism. This is Faraj Shaukatali reporting for News First from London.
Sri Lankan Paralympic bronze medalist Dinesh Priyantha Herath has been nominated for the most popular sports personality of the year at the Sports First Platinum Awards. The award ceremony will take place on the 31st of March at Stein Studios, Ratnam.
And that wraps up Primetime News for tonight. I'm Sonali Manigabavige.
And I am Shamir Suldeen. Take care and
Good night.
night.